Today's date is July 23rd, 2021, and the time is 2:22 p.m. This will be the 30B6 videotape deposition of Pike Electric, given by Garrett Bush in the matter of Grant Holloway v. Pike Electric, LLC et al. Would counsel please identify themselves for the record and any objection to the witness being sworn in remotely?
Jeb Butler for the plaintiff, no objection.
Mark Johnson for the defendant, no objection.
And would the court reporter please swear in the witness?
Mr. Bush, if you would raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in this matter pending before us on the 23rd of July, 2021?
I do.
Okay. Jeb, your witness is sworn.
All right, thank you. State your name for the record, please.
Garrett Bush.
All right. And tell me what you did. Well, let me start with a qualifier. I'm not asking for your communications with Pike's lawyer. But apart from that, tell me what you did to prepare for this deposition today.
More or less. Your neck up.
Mm-hmm. Got my speakers off.
No, yours is on. It's gotta be on. Right there.
And Jeb, are you on video? I'm looking for you.
I'm right here.
Oh.
I see myself. I'm the dude who's waving.
Oh, okay, I see Thomas. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. He must have put the name. I'll fix that.
Okay.
Well, I'll go under his alias, but it's really Joe.
So in preparation of this, met with my attorney and reviewed the documents that were provided to you guys.
All right. What documents specifically did you look at?
Looked at the training records, the employee history, those types of documents.
All right. Did you look at the drive safe manual?
Yes.
And then we have another one that's kind of like that. The one we got this morning, I think it's called Pike Driver Training Book.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Any other training materials that you looked at?
The Smith driving that was provided this morning as well.
Yep. Good. Anything else?
To my knowledge, that's about it.
Okay. What's your title at Pike?
My title is Director of Compliance and Safety.
Is that what some people call a safety director?
You might call it that, but Director of Compliance and Safety is my actual title.
Okay. Have you looked into the collision that we're here about today?
I've looked into it based on, the documents submitted, the videos that were provided, and to that extent.
All right. So you've watched the video that's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.
I've watched the videos. I'm assuming they are marked as Exhibit 10.
That's probably right. I assumed maybe wrongly. Have you been in the room during the depots today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember the video that we went over with Ms. Resney, the first witness?
Ms. Desi, yes, sir. I heard the video being played. I did not see it, but I did hear it.
Okay. Let's watch that video. I'll pull it up, and we do this just because I understand that you were probably sitting where you couldn't see. So I'm just going to play the whole thing here in a second. All right. You see the video on the screen in front of you?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna hit play. We're just gonna let it run for until the collision happens.
What is that thing that got moisture on it again, I'm sure. Right on the side of the road or in the road? Right in the road. These on. That's pretty damn nice in there. go out there and wait till it cool down.
Yeah, awesome, dude. He is really, really changing in his older age. I'm have to buy him something for Christmas.
Careful. They gonna catch feelings like Bill catches feelings. You know Bill? He's an old ass fucking guy. Start.
What you put in here? Where's it at?
Right here. I just barely opened it.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna put it up, throw it away or something.
No,
Too strong. You sure?
yeah, it'll be gone out of here. Just a minute. It's got that heat blowing on it. And we're going 5 miles an hour.
Yep. I wish the stupid motherfucker would blow up.
I know.
That's what I ought to do. I ought to fucking. Hey, Greg. Need to get a new fucking line truck. This some bitch gonna get us killed.
I gotta feel some heat on my fingertips. Oh, yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Get on that 1-lane road. We won't be moving at all.
Yeah, no. Oh shit. We ain't gonna be able to get up the hill. We really ain't.
I know. Don't wipe your face with that.
Dude, this right here, I don't know if you ever used it. If you got creosote on you, this shit fucking works.
I thought you was supposed to wipe your face with it.
I did when I had the creosote on my face. I had a little bit right here. I wiped it on there. Yeah, it was burning like hell.
Oh, yeah.
But it caused it to stop. Not long after that.
Dried it out.
Stupid motherfucker.
What?
That thing's about hit us.
They did.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Unless they got open. Can you see out of it now? That's pretty thick ice this morning.
That is so beautiful. Look.
That's what I like to see. And get up in the morning and get in the deer stand and it gets daylight and you out. Just like this right here. You look out there.
Yeah, hell yeah. I live on the like that.
I got some of them hand warmers in my truck. It's old. It might not work but for a few minutes.
Hell yeah, you ought to grab it.
Does that come through all right for you?
Yes, sir.
I understand you have a role in Pike with the training of drivers.
Yes, sir.
What do you think of what the
Object, I'm just gonna object to the form of the question. It's vague, but subject to that, you can answer.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I said, subject to the same objection. What do you think about how these guys did?
Well, I mean, you know, hindsight, we wish that the individuals would not have taken the truck on the road.
Right.
However, once he did get on the highway and make that decision, he made sure to use all of his flashers, his headlights, his strobes to make sure and warn other motorists.
Okay, so if you were showing this video to a group of guys or drivers that you were training, like what would you tell them to do differently, or what would you tell them to do the same?
Object to the form of the question. It's vague and overly broad, but subject to that, you can answer.
I'd rather not get into any hypotheticals here. That's something I haven't thought about. I can't.
We can't hear you, Mr. Butler. No. Oh, we can hear you.
Come back.
Yes, sir.
You know, it seems like it's just a like kind of thing. I don't know. But all right. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start with leaving the parking lot. Is that something that Pike would train its drivers to do in these circumstances when the truck's beeping like that and the warning lights are on in the dash?
No, sir, we would not train our employees to do that. Mr. Edwards, has the knowledge, skills, and abilities to operate that CDL based on the CDL exam that he took through the state of Georgia. And so we would not necessarily train on that, but he would need to use his judgment.
Do you think he made the right judgment call in leaving the parking lot?
Again, in hindsight, we believe that, we would have preferred that Mr. Edwards stayed in the yard and not took it off the property that day.
All right. You mentioned the flashers on, and I think that's something that you think that was good. He was supposed to do.
Yes, sir. He made himself visible to the public.
Okay.
And any motorists.
And motorists, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about the decision to drive in the traffic lane instead of on the shoulder of the road at 4 miles an hour?
What we would have preferred is obviously for him to pull over whenever he found a place that was appropriate. According to his foreman, speaking with him, the foreman stated that Mr. Edwards had planned to pull over not far up the road where a dirt road is located. And so it sounds as though that was the intention to do.
Have you talked to Mr. Edwards himself?
No, sir.
Why not?
I don't know Mr. Edwards. I wasn't part of the investigation.
Okay. If we back up in this video, I'm going to share screen again at the risk of creating this silly problem once more. Okay, you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what I'm basically doing is I'm in 10 and I'm using my cursor just to back up. Here we leave the lot and go a little ways. Where is he? At some point, let's say here, at about 29 seconds, it appears that the truck is more on the shoulder of the road than in the traffic lane, although it's a little bit of both. Does that sound right?
Can you repeat the statement?
Yeah, so my summary of this would be the truck is more on the shoulder of the road than in the traffic lane, although it is a little bit of both. Does that sound right to you?
It appears that could be the case.
All right, but it appears that there's room on the shoulder of the road here for the truck.
Yes, sir. I mean, there appears to be some room over there.
Yeah. I mean, it'd been better if he stayed on the shoulder of the road and not gone into the traffic lane, right?
Object to the form of the question about what's better or not, but subject to that, you can answer.
Sir, I was not driving the truck. I was not there on scene to exactly know. I don't know the history of the truck and things like that as well. It was my understanding from speaking with the foreman that the truck had not done this previously. And so, to my understanding, the assumption was that the truck was going to gain full speed
Okay.
or go up to road speed.
Well, let's see. At this point, I tell you what, we're at 29 seconds now. Let's back up to about, here we go, about 15 seconds when he leaves the parking lot. And we'll hit play at 15 seconds.
Right on the side of the road or in the road? Right in the road. You got the blinker on. Put these on.
Well, all right, we're now back at 29 seconds in Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. It appeared from that clip that the driver made a deliberate decision to get into the traffic lane and off the shoulder of the road, right?
Yes, sir.
Was that the right decision or the wrong decision?
Object to the form of the question, to the extent that it's vague and calls for speculation, that you can answer.
Yes, again, I would be speculating. I'm not sure what's going on around the vehicle, or I'm just not aware.
Is there any reason that you can think of that he couldn't have stayed on the shoulder of the road?
Again, I'm not familiar with the roads. I'm not sure if there are objects in the roadway or potholes, or I just don't know, or any.
Do you know of any reason as you sit there today that he couldn't have stayed on the shoulder of the road?
I do not know.
All right. I want to ask you about lights. Now, I've now paused Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. Well, again, we're at 29 seconds. Do you see that car driving in the left lane?
I do see a headlight, which appears to be behind the driver's side, if that's what you're referring to.
No, I mean, you see the bottom picture, there's a car.
Okay. My apologies. I was looking at the top screen. I do see that.
Hey, man, we gotta play this game. But, okay.
Yes, sir. I see the car in the left-hand lane.
So this is what I'm driving at. Do you see what I'll call the headlight splash ahead of that car, like the area illuminated by the headlights?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a corresponding headlight splash in front of the Pike truck?
It's hard for me to tell.
You said, I'm sorry, a headlight, what? Flash?
Splash, yeah. By the headlight splash, I'm referring to the area in front of the vehicle that's lit up. So, maybe I can do it like this. Okay, and we'll reshare and share something else. I think I messed it up. Let me try once more. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Do you see now in the frame, I've got just the bottom still image from that still shot in Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to mark this, if I can, as PX 99. Do you see that?
Unfortunately, on my screen, it's partially covered by a gray box. I'm assuming that is what it says. If you say that's what it says.
Okay, I'll take that. All right. So when I refer to the headlight splash, I'm referring to this area in front of the car. You see that little blue circle I just drew?
Yes, sir.
See how it's like illuminated?
Yes, sir.
Does the area in front of the Pike truck appear to be similarly illuminated?
I can tell that the cone is illuminated, which would appear that the headlights are on. I can, you know, I don't know if there's any issues with video or whatnot, but I see the white line that marks the shoulder of the road. I'm not sure what true effect I would see based on the image in front of me from the video quality.
Doesn't it look like the parking lights of the Pike truck are on, but the headlights are not?
Again, I
I
cannot,
object to the form of the question. That calls for speculation.
You can go ahead and answer, I think.
oh, I was,
Mr. Johnson tells you not to, usually you can.
and no, again, I was saying that, you know, I cannot tell. I can see the lines in the road. I can see, I'm just not sure what the video quality is true and what is not true.
All right, we'll save this as PX 99. Okay, that's done. No way I can share with everybody after we're done. Do you know of any reason that the driver of the Pike truck couldn't have stopped on the shoulder of the road at this moment we've been talking about?
No, sir.
What do you train somebody to do if they're in a commercial truck and stopped on the shoulder of the road?
That individual would want to make sure he has his flashers on, his triangles, you know, to make sure that he's visible to the public and off the highway.
Basically pull well off the highway. Is that a part of it?
Pull onto the shoulder, of course.
And then you mentioned triangles. Tell me what you mean.
The emergency triangles that are maintained on the commercial vehicles.
That's like an orange reflective triangle,
Yes, sir.
and you put them out behind the truck, right?
Yes, sir.
I think sometimes it's like 3 of them, right?
Yes, sir.
So when a driver of a commercial vehicle stops on the side of the road, generally that driver should pull onto the shoulder and put out 3 reflective triangles well behind the truck, right?
Yes, sir.
And what's the point of those?
The point of those would be for to be visible, for individuals to see them and have warning that a truck is stopped on the side of the road.
The people driving behind them, basically.
Correct.
Right. How does Pike train drivers about truck maintenance issues?
I do not believe there are any formalized training documents that I can recall off the top of my head. There might be, but as far as whenever someone receives the pre-trip, post-trip inspection book, for instance, when they see that there is a deficiency that needs to be marked on that form, there's information there as far as how to complete the form, you know, give that form to your foreman so that they may notify maintenance or fleet to correct any deficiency.
Okay. So then I guess, would it be fair to say that apart from the materials about pre-trip and post-trip inspection reports, you're not aware of any training documents that Pike uses to train its drivers about truck maintenance?
You know, we have information in our Stay Safe manual on pre-trip, post-trip inspections, how to complete those, how to mark those. So, I mean, that would be a form of training that we would provide those individuals as part of the manual. So there is information in there as far as that is concerned. So I believe that would be the case, that there is training in that aspect.
Let me try that again. Apart from the materials about pre-trip and post-trip inspections, would it be fair to say that you don't know of any training documents that Pike uses to train its drivers about vehicle maintenance?
Well, you know, one thing when you think of vehicles also, these do have booms and such. There may be some type of additional equipment outside of just the basic operation of the truck. From driving standpoint, it could be from a boom standpoint and working, you know, in the service of utility lines and things and such. As far as driving and maintenance issues, I Nothing rings a bell, nothing off the top of my head.
Okay. If you think of something later, let me know. So what should did you hear the last deposition that Tom took of, gosh, I forgot his name. What was that guy's name?
Mr. Whitehead?
Mr. Whitehead, yeah. Let me try that question again, since it's probably the most garbled question that even Mr. Johnson has heard in his lengthy career. Did you hear the questions and answers between Mr. Giannotti and Mr. Whitehead a few minutes ago?
I was in and out. I wasn't necessarily, hearing every line word for word.
All right. Well, are you aware that this particular truck, that is the Pike truck involved in this collision, had been displaying warning dash lights for quite some time before December 2nd, 2020?
I just object to the form of the question about what dash lights and how long and things like that. Subject to that, you can answer.
Please repeat the question.
Did you know that the dash lights, the warning dash lights in this pickup truck had been going off before the day that this collision happened?
From my understanding and speaking with the foreman, that was, I believe he mentioned that, but I was not on site. I never saw the truck, prior to or even after the event took place.
Well, what should the driver have done in those circumstances? That is, when the truck has warning lights flashing on the dash.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to object to the question. Are you talking about when he sees one?
Oh, when on the morning of December 2nd, the driver got in the truck and saw warning lights on the dash that had been there before, what should the driver have done?
Pike would have preferred the individual not take the truck onto the highway.
Okay. What else should the driver do other than not drive the truck?
We would have preferred him, after he did take the vehicle onto the road, we would want him to be highly visible, utilizing his lights, flashers, etc., to make himself visible to the public. And we would want to make sure that he pulls over at a location that is appropriate, whenever he realizes that he has a problem.
I mean, before that, like, was he supposed to tell a supervisor about the light? Is he supposed to write it in an inspection form? Is he supposed to call the nearest maintenance shop? What's he supposed to do?
I think I understand. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I believe that he would, he would need to notify his foreman.
and that was Mr. Digby, I think we've said.
Mr. Rigby.
Rigby.
Yes, sir.
All right. So once Mr. Rigby is told about a maintenance issue with the truck, then what is Mr. Rigby, the foreman, supposed to do?
Mr. Rigby should notify Fleet of the issue or any issue that may be found.
All right. When you say notify Fleet, what do you mean?
You would want to contact the Fleet field mechanic to make sure that they are, aware of the problem so that it can be corrected. And I'm talking any problem, generally speaking.
What Fleet field mechanic should Mr. Rigby call to notify the mechanical problem?
That I'm not sure of any name. It could be a third party. It could be someone within Pike. It could be a third party. I'm not sure.
How would Mr. Rigby know who he's supposed to contact?
Mr. Rigby could answer that question.
All right. Well, like, what's the training for this? Like, when you're training a foreman and you say, all right, you got a truck, it's got a repeated maintenance issue. How are they supposed to know, or how do you train them to contact someone?
Well, that would be dependent upon the area. Our areas can be different around the country. So the general foreman will make sure and inform the foreman on who they need to contact in certain situations.
What is a general foreman?
General foreman is over he's the next in line above the foreman position.
All right. So in other words, the foreman, Mr. Rigby, would report to a general foreman.
Yes, sir.
Who was the general foreman to whom Mr. Rigby reported? Take your time.
I believe it was Greg Franken.
Okay.
Greg Franken. That's Franken.
All right. Got it. Thanks. Okay. We talked some about pre-trip inspections, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll pull up the pre-trip inspection reports in this case. Do you see Plans Exhibit 7 in front of you?
Yes, sir.
This is the pre-trip, post-trip inspection form, right?
Yes, sir.
Is this filled out correctly?
The only thing that I do not necessarily see would be the post-trip signature and date on the
Okay.
form. And
So,
that's not insinuating it wasn't done. It might not have been documented here on the form, or he
Right.
might. And so that's one thing that I do not see on the
Right.
form.
when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see you, so I'm not trying to cut you off. I think I sometimes just don't know when you're about to say something. But anyway, there should be a signature after post-trip driver's signature in, for example, the box labeled November 30, 20, right?
That would be the expectation.
All right. What does CE mean in the remarks section?
I would be guessing if I gave and answer.
Just, yeah, don't speculate, don't guess. That's not in your wheelhouse. You don't know, just see it.
No, I do not know.
If someone were to say that means check engine, would you have any reason to disagree with that person?
Jet the form that's vague as to who the someone is, but go ahead.
I mean, I couldn't agree or disagree if it said checked everything. I don't know.
All right. On the right side of the Plans Exhibit 7 there's this sort of long form as far as brake systems, coupling device, exhaust system, etc. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Is it appropriate for that to be blank?
It would need to be checked if there was a deficiency found, we'll say.
Okay. Where would someone check if the check engine light was on the right side of Plans Exhibit 7?
You know, I'm not sure exactly what could trigger the check engine light to come on a vehicle. I don't know if there's multiple functions or multiple, you know, if a tire is low, if the check engine light could come, I just don't know. So again, I would be speculating as far as what to check in the event. You know, if there's something that needed to be identified, it could always be placed in the remarks box.
That'd be where he wrote CE, right?
Could have been.
All right. So tell me what happens with these hard copy pre-trip, post-trip inspection forms? Like, where do they stay?
So they stay on the truck until they are completed in their, you know, entirety. And then the book is provided to, once the book is completed, the book is then provided to supervision, who sends it to the corporate office to be maintained for 90 days.
Okay, in compliance with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, I guess.
Yes, sir.
So Plans Exhibit 7 shows 1, 2 pages out of what you would call a book.
Yes, sir.
All right. Who, other than the driver of the truck, looks at that book that's shown in Plaintiff's Exhibit 7?
I would be assuming to answer your question, but the foreman should look at it. If there are any discrepancies, obviously the mechanic would look at it if something's noted and brought to his attention.
And when you use the word discrepancy, do you mean like mechanical issue with the truck?
Well, it could be, I see windshield here. If there's a small crack in the windshield, the upper left corner, I mean, it could be something that we'd want to make note of.
So a discrepancy, so you use the word discrepancy, and I'm just trying to define it.
Okay.
You do it. What do you mean by discrepancy?
Yeah, some sort of defect.
Okay. The reason, is it true that the reason Pike's drivers have to fill out pre and post trip inspection forms is that is required by the federal motor carrier safety regulations?
The post trip inspection is required by the FMCSA.
It's both the pre-trip and post-trip, isn't it?
I believe the post trip's the only requirement, but we also request that a pre-trip be done as well.
Let's take a look. I think I might actually have this. Well, all I got, I guess, is PX30. You know what? We don't need to argue about this. I'm gonna let it go. Do you agree that Pike has to comply with the federal motor carrier safety regulations?
Yes, the parts that are applicable.
Okay, and that includes the part about vehicle inspections, whether it's just post or pre and post, right?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
And the parts that are applicable include the parts about vehicle inspections, whether that's just post or pre and post, right?
That's correct.
All right. We'll show you what's marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 28. Do you see the Pike driver training manual in front of you?
Yes, sir.
If we go to page 3 of it, we see that Pike distributes a, quote, Pike Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations pocketbook, end quote, to all of its drivers, right?
Yes, sir.
And then if we scroll,
That's let me back up there. It's if you are taking this course, the way that first bullet reads there.
okay, who takes this course?
To complete this course. That course is provided. It is supervision discretion when that course is utilized. And so it's a course that's available for our supervision to provide to their employees.
Did Mr. Edwards take this course?
Not to my knowledge.
Why not?
That would have to be asked of his supervision.
Well, in general, when is someone supposed to take this course?
Again, that is, it's part of the library of training, so to speak, is a lack of better terms, and it's available whenever the supervisor would like it performed for any of their crew members.
So do all people who drive Pike trucks have to take the Pike driver training course?
No, sir.
Do you know whether Mr. Edwards took the Pike driver training course?
Jim, he just answered that, Jim, but go ahead.
I do not believe I saw a training form in there for this course.
In other words, Pike has no record of Mr. Edwards having taken the Pike driver training course.
I did not see one in the provided documents. No, sir.
This truck on the very front of Plans Exhibit 28, the Pike Driver Training Manual, is what y'all call a line truck, I think. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
A line truck is a commercial motor vehicle, right?
It's a bucket truck, utility truck.
Okay. It's a commercial motor vehicle, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What else is involved in the, well, let me back up. What do you call this course that Plans Exhibit 28 is involved in?
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, you told me that someone needs to review Plans Exhibit 28, the Pike Driver Training Booklet, if they're taking some type of course. And my question is, what's the name of that course? Just what do you call it?
Pike driver training.
Okay, so we'll know. What else is involved in Pike Driver Training other than the booklet that we just looked at that was marked as Plans Exhibit 28?
Well, as part of our training, we do have the Stay Safe manual. We have information in there around vehicle operation. We do offer Smith system training as well to drivers as part of the library that supervisors have access to be able to provide for their employees.
All right. I'm going to show you now what I've marked as Pike's Stay Safe Manual. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Is that a part of the Pike Driver Training course?
I will say it's not part of the Pike driver training course that you necessarily had pulled up on the screen a minute ago. There could be some similar information between what's in the Stay Safe manual and what's in the driver training manual. There could be some overlapping information, but it's not per se part of the driver training course.
When someone takes the driver training course, do they go somewhere? Do they take it on the computer or what?
It would typically be done in like a classroom or one-on-one type session.
Where are these classrooms?
I say classroom. It could be in at a conference room. It could be an office at a Pike location, for instance, at a Pike office.
All right. So other than the Pike Driver Training Manual that we looked at a minute ago, what are the components or what are the parts of the Pike Driver Training course?
If you open up the first part of the book there, you'll see the different sections within the Pike Driver Training course. I believe there's a table of contents.
Yep, I think so. Here we are. You see it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, go back. Yes.
Okay. Are there other booklets that are a part of this Pike Driver Training course?
No, sir.
Okay. Somewhere in here talks about a video, not the Dale Jarrett driving video. Here. As you can see on page 28 of Plans Exhibit 28, the Pike Driver Training Manual refers to a pre-trip inspection video, right?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
So we developed a pre-trip inspection video years ago, excuse me, to help individuals who are getting their CDLs, more or less, to help give them some information on performing the pre-trip inspection portion of the CDL, of obtaining your CDL, of that CDL exam.
Yeah. I don't think we've got a copy of that. We would like one when you get a chance, Mr. Johnson.
Sure.
Thank you. Did the driver here, Mr. Edwards, watch the pre-trip inspection video, if you know?
I do not know.
Okay. Do you know where these guys were going on the 2nd, on December 2nd?
From my understanding, the intention was to go to the, to where their job site was located that day.
You know where the job site was?
I do not.
Do you know what they were doing at that job site?
No, sir.
Other than the drivers, what's the best way to do this? I know. I'm gonna start a list here, and I'll ask you to help me with it. So, see this email screen I've got pulled up?
Yes, sir.
I will, I'll make it out to Tom, but so I will start a list of people involved in vehicle maintenance. And we know, right, that the driver is involved with the pre and post trip inspection forms, right?
Yes, sir.
And the foreman has some involvement in maintenance because the driver is supposed to report problems to the foreman, right?
Yes, sir.
Who else is involved in vehicle maintenance at Pike?
Mr. Butler, Jeff, I'm gonna object, I think, and I'm not sure again where you were maybe during the course of Mr. Whitehead's deposition, but I believe he explained pretty thoroughly to Mr. Giannotti kind of the app that they have and what happens when the foreman gets a report of something, how that is submitted to be looked at and repaired. So I'm not sure if you caught all that. I don't necessarily want to have to object, but just I don't want to plow the same ground twice.
Well, I'll be short, I think. But I do want to ask the question, who else is involved in vehicle maintenance?
Sir, that would, again, that would be more towards Mr. Whitehead's, information that he provided. I'm not sure if there is necessarily if there is some type of field mechanic or third party that they have to come out and utilize the trucks in different parts of the country, depending on where employees are located. I'm just not sure to be able to give you a definite answer on that. I do know that the driver and foreman would be involved in some fashion as far as reporting, completing post trip inspection forms and reporting that to fleet.
Whose job would it be to get a third party repair service out to fix the truck?
That would, again, I can't answer that. That would, I believe Mr. Whitehead probably answered that question in his statements.
What third parties does Pike use to track vehicle maintenance issues?
If you know, if you don't know.
I don't
If
know.
you don't know, say you don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's fine. All right, let's take a break. I may be done. If I'm not done, I'm close.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 3:11 p.m. We're off the record. The time is 3:14 p.m. We're on the record.
Okay. The first is related to the preservation of evidence stuff. And what I want to try to do is track the sort of movements of the truck from when it's there on the side of Highway 19 until we inspected it in what I think y'all call the show up lot. And I'll just leave it, let you talk, unless you want me to go through and ask you a bunch of questions about it.
So if you can just tell them basically where the truck go from the time it was pulled off after the accident until they saw it on January the 11th, I think it was.
Okay. So as far as the truck is concerned, from my understanding, following the whenever we were released from the side of the road, the truck was transported back to the show up lot immediately, and it was preserved there until you had a chance to go look at everything that you needed.
When was the truck moved from the side of the road back to the show-up lot? Like later on the same day? Or the next day?
I do not know exactly what time it was moved and if it was an hour after the accident or 2 hours, I don't know, but it was at some point after we were released from the scene.
I mean,
The truck was driven back to the show-up yard.
was that on December 2?
It was on the same day of the accident. I don't have the date of the accident in front of me.
Okay, that's fine. Let me show you PX7, Play Exhibit 7. So if we look on Play Exhibit 7, we see a pre-trip inspection report for December 3, which would have been the day after the collision. Do you know why? Like, what is this about? Do you know why we have such a report?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, fair enough. I want to talk with you about discipline and post-wreck stuff. What does Pike do after one of its trucks has been involved in a wreck with serious injuries?
Well, to my knowledge, and I'm sure it's a case-by-case standpoint, a stance, but I believe the vehicle is transported back to the location of origin, or it could be a location similar, or I would assume the location of origin, whether it's the show-up yard or the lay-down yard or office or what have you. That's where I would assume that the truck would be taken. And pending any counsel that's been provided, we would follow any guidelines presented to us by our attorney.
Okay.
Now, if I don't have anything else.
I was trying to interrupt you, but you're gonna keep talking. There's some things that happen, right? Like Pike does a drug test of the driver, right? Or a drug or alcohol test, right?
Yes, sir.
Does Pike make a determination of preventability?
Pike follows DOT guidelines when an accident is involved in a commercial motor vehicle. As far as if a post-accident drug and alcohol test is warranted.
Yeah, we got the drug and alcohol thing. I believe the regulations also require that the motor carrier make a determination as to whether the collision was preventable. Is that your understanding?
That I do not know off the top of my head. If that has to do with an investigation or something, that could take days following an event, which could take you outside of the, 8 hours for 2 hours or 8 hours for an alcohol test or 32 hours for a drug test.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the drug or alcohol test anymore. After a collision in which somebody is hurt, does Pike investigate the collision?
To some extent, I would say, I would think most events are investigated.
All right. Does Pike make a determination as to whether the collision was preventable?
Object to the form of questions being vague, but under what circumstances? But if you know, you can answer it. If you say you don't, if you don't know, say you don't know.
I don't know if I don't know.
Do you know what I mean when I use the word preventable?
Would you like to give a definition?
No, typically in a truck case, there is a report in which the motor carrier has evaluated what happened and decided whether their driver could have prevented the collision. I don't believe we have such a report in this case. Did Pike make a determination as to whether its driver could have prevented this collision?
I do not know.
Did Pike discipline Mr. Edwards, its driver, in any way in connection with this collision?
He did receive a written reprimand for not wearing a seatbelt as part of the corrective action policy.
Did he receive any other kind of reprimand?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Did Pike give Mr. Edwards additional training after this collision?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, I'm gonna mute you. Everybody say they don't even move.
I'm sorry, I didn't